What type of investment property should I buy? Well, it's a very open-ended question. There's so many answers for that, but how do I answer this? You should be looking to buy an existing property, not something off the plan. And you should be looking at buying a property that suits your strategy and what you're looking to achieve. Everything is based on an end goal, and we reverse engineer the strategy to get you to your end goal. So, that might not necessarily be buying a house just down your street or somewhere that or taking family's advice and all those sorts of things. You need to be buying in the right area with the right data set that suits your strategy. I mean, it might be a townhouse, it might be a house, it might be, interstate. There's a lot of factors there that come into play when making that decision. So definitely seek some help and make sure that your first one is done properly, because that first one either sets you up or stuffs you up, essentially, right? That's why the majority of Australians who invest in property, 95% of them only have one or two. To be in the top 1%, you don't need a lot. You need 5 properties. And I know that sounds a little funny. You don't need a lot, but getting to 5 or 6 is super easy if you get number 1 right. So yeah, happy to chat more if anyone has any questions with regards to that. Question 4, what should I look for in an investment property? Well, I think data is very important. So once you analyze the data is going to direct you to an area that you need to be investing in, or that you can invest in. And the area that you live in might not necessarily be the right area, and it might not have a great data set. So you want to be buying somewhere where the market is going to be going up in value, or could already have started going up in value and is just turning into, or on the cusp of turning into, a hotspot. So it's very important that you use the data to pinpoint your area. Before you start on asset selection, you need to get the data set right. So yeah, and look for existing over brand new, and obviously something high yielding with as much land as possible. But yeah, definitely look at the data set first. That's the most important part. So how do we calculate return on investment? So now rental yield is what it is essentially. And this is what, when you hear people talking about, it's got a 5% rental yield or whatever, 6% rental yield, this is what they are talking about. So it's the annual rental income. So it's the annual rental income divided by the purchase price times 100, and that gives you your yield. So it could be, weekly rent of, $500 a week times 52 divided by the purchase price times 100. Question 6, how do I minimize risks in property investment? Well, there are so many risks in property investment, but obviously this is what separates the average investors from the great ones, and that is they understand how to minimize risk. They know how to take out good insurance policy that might not necessarily be an insurance policy from an insurance provider, but mitigate risks. So using a good buyer's agent or somebody who's achieved what you want to achieve. So me buying 14 properties in 12 months, that happened because I learned strategy from somebody else. I refined it and I did it my way. But I didn't invent the wheel, and there's plenty more before me that were property investors, and there's going to be plenty after me. So the same goes for yourself. Whatever your strategy is, you need to seek the right help from someone who understands and has achieved it. A lot of times we like to take opinions and advice from real estate agents because you feel that they're in the real estate industry. That's absolutely irrelevant. Most real estate agents I talk to have no idea on how to invest in property. So, just like listening to family, friends, your uncle at the barbecue, everyone has an opinion, just like everyone would have an opinion on how you should do your job or how you should live your life. It's the same with property investment. Unless they've achieved it, I wouldn't be taking their advice. So I think minimizing risk in that way is very important. But then when you meet these people, they are going to show you all the things that they do. They're going to show you how they get there, or who they use for pest and building, how they, use a separate insurer for, building, but a separate insurer for landlord insurance. All those little things that they do differently that are super detailed, you will learn from them. So don't try and go it alone. I think the best way to minimize risk is to be around people, like-minded people that have achieved what you want to achieve. That is the best way to minimize risk. Okay, question 7. Is it better to invest locally or investing in another city or state? Now, this is one I even started my career like this. When I bought my first property, I didn't bought a second one all locally. I didn't go interstate, which at the time would have been amazing for me because I would have doubled my money if I had gone interstate and went to Brisbane, for example, when I was living in Sydney. There are other markets that are at different stages of their cycle. The thing that we do wrong as first-time, second-time investors is we buy where we feel comfortable. You need to get rid of that mindset of buying where you feel comfortable. And you need to be buying based on where the data set tells you to be buying and where the value currently is. For example, Melbourne now with a $450,000 price point for houses, right? That's value for money. Yeah, if you're not from Melbourne and you don't necessarily want to go to Melbourne, but you should, because that's where the value is and that's where the data set points to. So if you're based in Sydney, you've got to be careful about, not buying in your backyard just for your own comfort's sake. You really need to shift your mindset and really look externally. We are all the good investors are all borderless investors. We go where the money is. We go where the market is, where the data says to go. So definitely, I think investing interstate is ideal. Also because some of the rental yields are a lot better than Sydney right now as well. So you need to really go where the market dictates. Okay, should I manage a rental property myself or get a property manager? Now, this is one that is a no-brainer. You should definitely not be managing the property yourself. You should have a qualified property manager, and you shouldn't skimp on your property management fees, guys. You really need to pay for someone who's out there that has that experience, that really goes that extra mile. And when it comes to property management, I hear many investors talking about, saving some money. Is it 5.5%? That's better than 6.6%. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's a couple of dollars a week. And if you're making a $500,000 or $600,000 investment, a couple of dollars a week does not come into play. That's not where you should be skimping. You should be managing everything. You're in business, right? You're a property investor, but this is a business and you should be treating it as such. So making sure that you have a good property manager is key. And don't be afraid to switch property managers, because over time I've noticed that many property managers do get a lot on their books, and management teams change and so on and so on. So don't be afraid to find a better property manager if you do need one, but definitely pay for a good one.